Whenever I get some spare time, which is becoming harder and harder as I get older, God, becoming old sucks, I enjoy watching old anime. I love the art style from the 80s and early 90s. The big, muscular guys wielding ridiculously huge weapons. The obvious bad guy wearing a cape with way too many spikes. And beautiful women with big, bouncing, hair. Yes, let's go with hair. Which is one reason our next game caught my attention and made me want to give it a try. And yes, I know this review is super late. I'm trying my best to catch up on reviews. Anywho, hey there, this is Megablade J, and this is my review of Power of the Hired. Power of the Hired is a turn-based strategy JRPG for the Super Famicom. It was made by the Japanese company NCS and Masaya and was released in Japan on December of 1994. In their later years, NCS was known mainly for Mahjong-related games. In their early years, however, they made a few original titles and ports to many different systems. Some of their work included several of the Landgrasser, I have no idea I'm saying that right, but the Landgrasser games, as well as the SNES and Game Boy ports of Battletoads. The story of Power of the Hired takes place in a classic fantasy setting. In this world, there are people known as beast mages. These mages have the ability to summon and control monsters. For centuries, beast mages were used as tools of war. Eventually, the mages got tired of fighting and separated themselves from the world to live in peace. A few centuries later, we play as Nina, a young beast mage that grew up in one such secluded village. One day, after the village is attacked, her headstrong brother and his girlfriend leave the village to explore the world. A few years later, tales of a beast mage leading an army for an evil empire reaches the village. Appalled that her brother would use his magic for war, Nina and her big-boned friend Dino set off to retrieve her wayward brother and get wound up in a war between good and evil. Overall, the storyline was pretty decent. Nothing too surprising, but it was interesting enough to make me want to see how it ended. Before, during, and after a fight, the characters will talk to each other. The characters are your typical anime stereotypes, but they fit their roles well. Dino, for instance, with his super heavy southern accent, caught me off guard and got me to chuckle a few times. As far as I can tell, there were no in-between battle conversations or chances to really get to know your party more intimately. The game goes straight from battle to battle, with a short story summary summing up how you got to the next fight. In this sense, I've been told this game plays similar to a game called Ark the Lad on the PS1. While going from fight to fight does keep the game moving at a brisk pace, it would have been nice to have some quiet moments to get to know these characters better. Battle takes place on a grid with an overhead view. You move along the grid until you're in range of your foes. When in range, you can attack or use magic to dispose of your enemies. Each mission has a win or failure condition. Most involve killing all foes, keeping NPCs alive, or taking out an enemy leader in a certain number of turns. As long as your mage is alive, you can keep fighting, but you're going to be at a major disadvantage without your monsters. Before every fight, you can choose which monster to take into battle. Your choice is very important, as which monsters you take will determine what spells your beast mage will be able to wield. In combat, if your monsters are near you, then you will have access to a number of spells. If they are too far away or die, those spells become unavailable. There is a variety of spells for you to use and are a crucial part in keeping your party alive. Some spells increase your stats, heal wounds, do an area attack, or even put a group of foes to sleep. Different combinations of monsters will give access to a different number of powerful spells. Because of this, it's very important to experiment and mix and match the monsters to suit your playstyle. For example, I tend to prefer a more brute force approach, so my monster setup allowed me to buff up my monster's attack and defense while healing them so that they can keep attacking. The graphics were pretty good, and enemies do have some pretty good animations. The only cutscenes are in the beginning of the game and the very last outro. They are very well detailed and fun to look at, but I wish there were more of them. I feel that if they had added some of these to the pre-battle story recaps, they would have added greatly to the game's presentation. The music is actually really good and had a number of tracks I'm still humming today. The game can be very, very hard near the beginning. There are some levels where you think you killed the last baddie, and then more enemies will continue spawning for a number of turns. I was caught off guard by this a few times, and was at a major disadvantage as I, thinking I was almost done, had sacrificed a monster or two. Speaking of which, you only start off with 2 mages, with each able to wield 2 monsters in combat. Your monsters start off super weak, and you'll be constantly outnumbered. Eventually, you'll level up and will gain 2 new mages. This means 4 mages and 8 monsters to fight for you. With a full team and the variety of spells available, you soon become a force to be reckoned with. By the end of the game, only large groups of swarming enemies really pose a threat. Well, that and long-range mages were still a major pain. Trust me, they suck. They suck. Power of the Hired was only released in Japan, but there is an English translation available online. If you want to own a copy, they can be found online for about $40 to $50. Overall, I had a lot of fun with Power of the Hired. It had fun, challenging gameplay, and nice graphics and sound for the SNES. It's not the longest game, and it seemed to have been made on a budget, but it was very well made. In fact, I could see this being the foundation for a series if it had the chance to continue. Though I must admit, the game's name still kind of confuses me. Are we hiring the monsters to fight for us? Do they have a union and get dental benefits? I have no idea. It sounds cool and the game was fun though. I would definitely recommend this to fans of strategy games or anyone looking for a new SNES game to play. This has been Mega Blade J. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe for more Let's Plays, reviews, and more of my horrible attempts to entertain you all. Thanks for watching. See you on next mission. Bye.